Hey all, welcome to Homeschool. Hope everybody are doing good. I have come up with the revision videos for class 10 students, especially the students those who are going to write SSLC board examination for the year 2022. Already I have released a video, part 1 video, which covered some of the chemistry questions, and in this part 2 video, I have come up with few more chemistry questions. Okay, so actually part 1 and 2 is on chemistry questions. Part 3 and 4, you will have it on biology questions. Part 5 and 6, you will find it on physics questions. So this is our part 2 video that is on remaining chemistry questions, where I'll be covering the chapters metals, non-metals, periodic classification of elements, and carbon and its compounds. Okay, so the part 1 video link is just popping up above. You can check it out, and link is also provided in the description. Don't forget to watch those videos. Okay, fine. And coming to today's class, let's discuss few questions from the chapter metals and non-metals. Already chapter wise weightage I have explained in the part 1 video. Okay, so for weightage you will have to check that particular part. Fine. See, the first very important question from metals and non-metals is, what are amphoteric oxides? Give example. Okay, so very important. What are amphoteric oxides? Right? Give example, they will ask you. So what is the answer you will write here? The oxides which can react with both acids and bases to give water and salt, right? So it is those oxides which react with both acids and bases are called as amphoteric oxides. See, I am just showing the definitions in a very simple way. You can write the definition like this also. You will get the mark, definitely. Okay, fine. And the examples they will ask. So what are the examples you will write? Aluminium oxide, Al2O3, and another example you can remember, zinc oxide. So these two are the examples of amphoteric oxide. Okay, fine. And coming to the second question, they may also ask you some chemical reactions on amphoteric oxide reacting with acid and base. Okay, say question will be like this. Show how amphoteric oxide react with acid and base. Okay, show a reaction of amphoteric oxide with acid or base. This way question can be asked. So you have to write two chemical reactions here. Take amphoteric oxide as Al2O3 and react with acid. Take the acid HCl. So what is the products you may get here? Salt and water. Which is the salt you will get? AlCl3 plus water. Okay. So now take the same Al2O3, treat it with NaOH. Here NaOH is a base. Here also you will get a salt, NaAlO2 plus H2O. Okay, so these are the two chemical reactions you can mention. Okay, so first question, second question. And coming to third question. Okay, so third question is, they may ask you how iron and aluminium react with steam. So this is another very famous question, okay, that you should not forget to study. So you have to give the chemical reactions here. Iron is Fe. Steam means what? It is nothing but water only, but in a vapor form. Okay, so on reacting with water, you will get Fe3O4 plus H2 gas. Okay, so this is the reaction of iron with steam. And later, aluminium with steam, you will get Al2O3 plus H2 gas. Okay, so these two are very, very famous questions. Okay, and after this, I will give you some important give reasons question. Okay, so they'll ask you give reason. They'll give you some sentence and they'll ask you give reason. Okay, so give reason questions are also very, very important here. So let us discuss about give reasons questions. Okay, so here the first one. Why aluminium oxide is amphoteric? So again, what is the answer? Because aluminium oxide can react with both acid and base, so it is amphoteric. Since it is already over, I am not discussing here. Let me go for the another question. Okay, so they may ask you, sodium and potassium are kept in kerosene oil. Okay, so give reason. So we studied that sodium and potassium is always stored in a kerosene. So what may be the reason? So what is the answer you will write for this question? So answer is sodium and potassium are violently reactive. They are violently reactive. Okay, with air and vapor, they catch fire. Okay, so that is the reason they are kept in kerosene oil. Okay, so this is one of the very, very famous give reason question. And the second one is ionic compounds. Ionic compounds have high melting and boiling points. High melting points, why they will ask you. Okay, so ionic compounds means compounds like NaCl. Okay, so NaCl has very high melting and boiling point. So what may be the reason here? So answer for this question is, okay, so ionic compounds have strong force of attraction between the ions. Okay, so that is the reason they have very high melting and boiling points. So that is the answer you can give. And coming to the third question, ionic compounds, this is very, very important, guys, very, very important. Ionic compounds in molten state conduct electricity but not in solid state. Why they will ask you. So what is your answer here? Because ionic compound in the molten state in the sense liquid state here. Okay, so any ionic compound in the liquid state, it will break into ions. Okay, so these movable ions, they always carry electricity from one place to another place. Okay, so how do you write the answer here? So they have ions, movable ions. Okay, ionic compounds in molten state have movable ions. So ionic compound in molten state conduct electricity, but in a solid state, strong attractions are there between ions, no? So ions are not free. When ions are not free, they cannot conduct electricity. Okay, so these are very, very important give reason type questions from this particular chapter that you can expect. Okay, fine. And now let me go for another very, very important question. Most of the time they asked this particular concept in the previous papers. So let's understand that. The next question is, what are the properties? What are the properties of ionic compounds? Ionic compounds. Okay, so this is another question that they can ask. So you can write the answer in a point wise. So what is the first point that you can write? Ionic compounds have high melting points and boiling points. I'm just writing it in a shortcut way. You can write it in a full form. So they have high melting point and boiling point. So this is one property. And second one is they are soluble in water. Okay, so this is another point. And coming to third point, same thing. Like in the previous point I have discussed, ionic compounds in the liquid state conduct electricity. Okay, so these are the 3 points you can write down. Okay, so this is also one of the very important question, guys. Okay, and coming to the last important question that they can ask from this chapter is formation. Explain the formation of NaCl. Okay, so they'll ask you, explain the formation of NaCl and what type of bond present in NaCl. Okay, so this is what they will ask you. So you have to explain the formation of NaCl by dot structure. So they will mention that with the help of dot structure, explain the formation of NaCl and also mention what type of bond present in NaCl. Okay, so how do you explain with the help of dot structure? So write the symbol of sodium Na. How many valence electrons are there in Na? 1. So you will write 1 dot here. Okay, plus Cl, right? So how many valence electrons are there in Cl? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is a transfer of electron from Na to Cl. Okay, so after transfer, how do you mention? Na will become Na plus. Cl, it gains electron, no? So it will become Cl minus. So this is the formation of NaCl. And what type of bond is present in NaCl? It is ionic bond. Okay, so this is how on formation of ionic compounds questions can be asked. So you have to show the formation of ionic compound by dot structure. Similarly, they will ask you, how do you show formation of MgCl2? So how do you show with dot structure? So Mg you have to write. How many valence electrons? 2. So 2 dots you have to mention. And how many chlorines are there? 2 chlorines, no? So mention like this. Each chlorine, how many dots you will mention around? 7. And this chlorine also, 7 dots you will mention around. So you will show a transfer. 1 electron transfers to 1 chlorine, another electron transfers to another chlorine. So how do you write here? Mg, last 2 electrons, no? So what is the charge it will have? Plus 2. And Cl, each Cl gained 1 electron, no? So charge is minus 1. How many Cls are there? 2 Cls are there. So this is how you will show formation of MgCl2 with the help of dot structure. Okay, and what type of bond is present in MgCl2? It is always ionic bond. Okay, in all the ionic compounds, ionic bond is formed. So what is ionic bond? Bond formed by transfer of electrons. So what is ionic bond? Bond formed by transfer of electrons. Transfer of electrons is called ionic bond. Okay, so these are some of the very important and most expected questions for 2022 examination from the chapter metals and non-metals. Okay, so now let us go for the most expected questions of the chapter periodic classification of elements. Okay, so now let me start with periodic classification of elements. Okay, fine. So here most asked questions for 1 mark is very simple definitions, like the first one, define Mendeleev's periodic law. Mendeleev's periodic law. Okay, and another question is define modern periodic law. Modern periodic law. Okay, so they are very important questions, guys. You can definitely expect one question for a definition. Okay, fine. So what is the answer here? The physical and chemical properties are the periodic functions or the periodic functions of their atomic mass. Atomic mass is called Mendeleev's periodic law. Okay, physical and chemical properties completely depend on atomic mass. I mean, after certain atomic masses, the same physical and chemical property gets repeated in the periodic table. That is the exact meaning. Okay, so this is how you have to define. Coming to second question. So what do you write the answer here? Here also same thing. See, physical and chemical properties are the periodic functions of their atomic number. Just this word is different, guys. Just this word is different, right? See, in the Mendeleev's periodic table, atomic mass will come. Modern periodic table, atomic number will come. Okay, so just this last word is different. Remaining sentence is completely same. Okay, so like this you can compare and study. So these two are very important questions from this particular chapter. Okay, so apart from this, the most expected question from this chapter is limitations of Mendeleev's periodic table. Okay, so limitations of Mendeleev's periodic table. Okay, so 3 points you have to mention, guys. So very simple way I will write and show you. First point is like you can write no position for hydrogen is the first point. He did not give proper position for hydrogen in his periodic table. And coming to second point, you can write it as no position for isotopes. No position for isotopes. And coming to third point, you can write it as there are irregularities. There are irregularities in the increasing order of atomic mass. Okay, so these are the 3 sentences you can write if limitations of Mendeleev's periodic table is asked. Okay, so similarly they can ask you achievements of. Okay, so achievements of Mendeleev's periodic table. Okay, M in the sense Mendeleev, P in the sense periodic, T is table. Achievements. Okay, so what are achievements or merits? Okay, achievements are also called as merits, and here limitations are also called as demerits. Okay, so what are the achievements you will give? So achievement is arranged all elements during his time. Okay, according to similarities in their chemical properties. Similarities in their chemical properties. So this is the first point you can write. Coming to second point, left gaps for, he left gaps for newly discovered elements. Newly discovered elements. Okay, so these are few achievements that you can list out. Okay, so these are the most expected and important questions from what is that, periodic table chapter. Okay, fine. And one more question that they can ask is merits and demerits of Newlands law of octaves. Okay, so I'm talking about all theory questions. So they may also ask you about limitations of Newlands law of octaves. Okay, so what is the first point you can write? Very important point is his theory is applicable only till calcium. Okay, so his theory is applicable only till calcium. Okay, so this is one limitation. Second limitation is no gaps left for newly discovered elements. Okay, so this is the second point you can mention. And coming to third point, you can write it as two elements mentioned in a single slot. Okay, so these are the 3 points you can give for this particular question, guys. Okay, so study these questions from periodic classification of elements. Okay, so other than this, what you must know is element 1 to element 20, atomic number 1 to 20, which group they come and which period they come. Okay, so this is also another important concept that you must know from this periodic classification of elements chapter. Fine. And now we will go for carbon and its compounds, important questions. See guys, the first important question from carbon and its compound is very simple definition. They will ask you, what is catenation? What is catenation? So what is your answer here? Self-linking capacity. Self-linking capacity of carbon to form long chain, branched chain, rings is called as catenation. See, one carbon can link to many carbon atoms to form long chains and branched chains. This property of carbon is what we call catenation. Okay, so self-linking capacity of carbon to form long chains, branches, okay, rings, etc. is called as catenation. Okay, so very simple and important question. Okay, and the second question, this is our first question. Coming to second question, it is, what are homologous series? Okay, so what are homologous series? Give example. So this is our second important question, guys. So what is a homologous series? A group of compounds which belong to same category but have a difference of CH2 between the successive members. Okay, so let me write the point here. So let me write the answer here. Same group of compounds which have a difference of, okay, so I'm writing all the definitions in a very simple way so that you can remember it easily and write easily in the examination. Okay, so a group of compounds which have a difference of CH2 between successive members is called as homologous series. Okay, so they asked you give examples, no? You can give them. CH4, which is called as methane. So just include one carbon extra and two hydrogens extra here. What this formula gets converted into? C2H6, right? Next, C3H8. So if you look at the difference between this and this, it is CH2. If you look at the difference between these two guys, it is CH2. Okay, so this is another question that is important. And coming to third question is, what are structural isomers? What are structural isomers? Give example. So this is another important question, guys. Very, very important. So what do you mean by structural isomers? The isomers which have same molecular formula. MF in the sense what? Molecular formula, different structure, but different structure is called structural isomers. So they asked you to give examples, no? You can give isomers of butane. So how do you write butane? CH3, CH2, CH2, CH3. This is called butane. What is its formula? C4H10, isn't it? And what is the other way of writing butane? CH3, CH, CH3, CH3. Okay, so what is its formula? Formula is C4H10 only. Okay, see here, formulas are same, but the structure is different. Here we have written straight, but here the structure is branched. So such compounds are called structural isomers. Okay, so this is another important question from carbon and its compounds. Okay, now let's go for the remaining questions. Okay, and they may ask you differentiate between saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons. So that is one question, guys. So let me write only the question here. So you try to write the answers for these questions. Okay, so 3 questions are over. Now I am giving 4th question from carbon compounds. Differentiate between saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Okay, so what do you write? Saturated hydrocarbons have got carbon-carbon single bonds. Unsaturated hydrocarbons have got carbon-carbon double bonds. You know, so all this you have to write. Okay, so try to write answer yourself. That is one of the very, very important question here. Okay, and coming to the 5th concept, it is all about functional groups. You must know the structure of functional groups. Okay, so they may ask you what are functional groups. They are the special groups which will decide about the chemical properties of carbon compounds. Okay, they are called as functional groups. And you have 4 important functional group. OH group, which is named as OL. It is called alcoholic group. Okay, and you have another group CHO. It is called as al group. And you have C double bond O group, which is called as ONA. And you also have COOH group, which is called as oic acid group. Okay, so these are some important functional groups and its names. So names are also very, very important. Suppose they'll ask you, see question, you have the name propanol. Okay, so you have the name butanol. Okay, they'll ask you what functional group is present in propanol. Just look at the last, guys, last letters you see. Al is there. Al means CHO. So CHO is also called as aldehydic group. So what is the functional group present in propanol? It is aldehydic group. How do you write aldehydic group? CHO group. And you see butanol, you look at the last letters, ONE is there. So ONE means which is the group? ONE group. So what is its structure? C double bond O group is there. So this is how questions can be asked. Okay, so they'll give you some names and they'll ask you what functional groups are present in those names. Okay, so at least try to remember these four. OH means all, CHO means all, CO in the sense ONE, COOH in the sense oic acid. Okay, so these are some important concepts from carbon and its compounds chapter that you must know. Okay, so say I completed most expected questions for 2022 board examination. Chemistry part is over, and in the video number 3, that is in the part 3, I will come up with biology important questions. Okay, so till then, take care, keep learning. Okay, so just put your 100% effort, guys. Definitely success will be yours. Okay, thank you so much.